Now we will have the presentation of Professor Attila Antal, I hope I pronounced it bien, VERITAS Institute for History and Archives in Budapest. The title is Biskup Aron Marton and the Hungarian Minority in Romania in the Face of the Rule of Karola II and Iona Antonescu. Professor, the floor is yours.
Can I ask you to be so kind as to change the place because the slides sometimes don't conclude with my speech, so it would be better if I will step the slides. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a big honor for me to participate in this conference. And in the beginning of my lecture, I suppose that many of you, or most of you, don't know who Marton Aron, who Biskup Marton Aron was. So therefore, let me to answer to this question in a single sentence. Probably you know that in Romania in 1999 it was established a special state body, a special council for supervising and studying the former archives of Securitate. Securitate was the state intelligence service in Romania, and in these former archives of Securitate, which belong to CNSAS, this state council, Marton Aron is the individual who, among the other individuals, has the largest number of files. So Marton Aron in these archives has 237 files. This is the largest number of the documentation of was created of regarding some individuals, and it consists of 80,000 pages, so it's a huge amount of documentation. And if we would like to make an opinion about the amount of this documentation, we can compare it with the documentation of Ion Mihai Pacepa, who was the director of the intelligence service of Securitate during Ceausescu. He fled Ceausescu's Romania in 1978, and he has in Securitate archives only 120 files. So my statement is that Marton Aron was that individual all around Romania during the communist period who was mostly controlled and mostly monitored by the state security services. And actually, among these 237 files, just 135 files are the manuscripts of typewritten manuscripts of wiretappings carried out on him. So my lecture will divide it into two parts. In the first part, I will try to highlight you some milestones and backgrounds of the career of Marton Aron. And in the second part, I will try to very briefly introduce you his career and his relation to the world without democracies. So the first background is the Transylvanian Catholic Diocese. You can see two maps here in this slide. This diocese was established by Hungarian King Saint Stephen in the 11th century. We don't know exactly the year of the establishment of this episcopate, neither 1003, neither or 1009. And it was one of the 10 most ancient Hungarian dioceses until the collapse of the Hungarian kingdom after the Trianon Treaty. So after the Trianon Treaty, this diocese was attached to Romania, so it became a part of the Romanian ecclesiastical system. And until 1991, it belonged to the Bucharest Archdiocese, which created a conflict situation because the Bucharest Archdiocese was much more smaller, and it was promoted the extension of the Romanian identity, Catholicism, all around Romania. So the first background is the origin of Marton Aron. He was born in Csíkszentdomokos. It's a small village in the Eastern Carpats. I marked it with a red dot. Oh, it's maybe wrong, but you can see in the Eastern Carpats this village. And it was very important to Marton Aron that to insist on his roots because he was born in 1896, and this village was inhabited almost exclusively by Hungarian Catholics. So this is his native village, and he came from a middle peasant family. His peasant background profoundly shaped his mindset and his later actions, because he believed that every intellectual who comes from a peasant background has a duty toward the social class from which they originate. So in his view, being an intellectual, it's not a career or it's not a status, it's a commitment to serve the people. So he thought that whoever leaves from the community owes the community both work and responsibility. The county, Csík, where this small village is located, this is one of the bastions of the Hungarian Transylvanian Catholicism. Even nowadays, it's regarded as the bastion of the Catholicism in Transylvania. When the Protestantism spread all over Transylvania in 16th, 17th century, this county remained mostly Catholic. And nowadays, the Catholics who live here insist on their Catholic roots, and school years began in churches. On Sundays, churches are full of people. So, second background, he attended the Catholic seminary in Gyulafehérvár. This was the seat of the Catholic diocese, Transylvanian diocese, and he was ordinated to the priesthood in 1924. And the second milestone, his period of life in Kolozsvár. So Kolozsvár is in the center of Transylvania. This is the intellectual and economical center of Transylvania. And he lived here between 1931 and 1938 in this period. And what is important that in this period he was the university chaplain, and he was the spiritual rector of the Catholic youth who studied in Kolozsvár, in this city. And he has a very, very big influence to the Catholic youth. And he was not just a priest and not just a bishop, but he was a very, very famous educator and a teacher. So here I would like to refer back to the fact that what he understood the role of the intellectual as a form of service. He founded an educator periodical called Erdélyi Iskola, so Transylvanian School, which became the most prestigious Hungarian language educational periodical of this time. So his work as an educator was both personal and community-centered, serving the development of the individual as well as the community. So he became the central figure of the Transylvanian Hungarian so-called people service movement. This movement has two main sources: the Romanian tradition of sociography and village research, and the Danish folk high school movement, which dates back to the 19th century. So seeing the poverty and lack of education among the vast majority of Transylvanian Hungarians, he emphasized that it is not the child who should be taken into the school, but the school is that what should be brought into children. So the Romanian village research movement and Danish folk high school movement made it possible for Marton Aron to commit himself to the popular ideal and to a sense of vocation toward serving people. So this was called the public service. So what does it mean? It meant that together with other Hungarian Transylvanian intellectuals, they time by time traveled around Transylvania and organized lectures for the villagers. And it was not just education, it were not just educational lectures, but they tried to inspire them to own some higher forms of farming or modern forms of farming. So between 1936 and 1938, he was Vicarius Economus of the St. Michael's parish. This is the biggest parish of Transylvania, the biggest Catholic parish of Transylvania. And he was nominated as a Vicarius Economus because this parish had accumulated enormous debts since the First World War. And Bishop Majlát Gustav Károly, who was the bishop at that time, appointed him there specifically to resolve its financial difficulties. And very important that Marton Aron was not a Hungarian nationalist, so I would say that he was a Transylvanian Hungarian co-nationalist, which means that he believed in a coexistence of nations of Transylvania, the three big nations, Saxons, Hungarians, and Romanians. He emphasized that the nation is part of the divine order created by God, and that no nation can take precedence over God. In his view, the physical existence of every nation has a metaphysical foundation. For this reason, he rejected both Hungarian nationalism and the Romanian majority nationalism that oppressed the minorities. So for him, the dividing line was not between Romanians and Hungarians, but between the minority and the majority. So the key question for him was how those in the majority position, the holders of power, treated and positioned those who live as a minority. And on 14 August 1938, he was nominated as a priest of this parish. And when he was nominated, at his installation as a parish priest, he delivered a highly influential speech built around two main ideas. The first was that the three major nations of Transylvania, Romanians, Hungarians, and Saxons, must respect one another's interest. The second was that his policy toward the Romanians and the Saxons would be guided by the spirit of the gospel. Throughout his work among the youth, his efforts to root the idea of Catholic social service and his organization of folk high schools, Marton Aron became well known throughout Transylvania and gained immense popularity. So his person was surrounded by the consensus of the Transylvanian Catholic community. His ecclesiastical career contained the potential for him to reach the top of the church hierarchy. So Marton Aron played an outstanding role in preserving the social and religious integrity of the Hungarian Catholic community under Romanian state rule and in shaping its vision for the future. So the second part, I would like to introduce briefly how he related to the world without democracies. Marton Aron was deeply engaged with the intellectual and ideological currents of his time. He believed that the followers of Catholicism, communism, liberalism, and national socialism exerted the greatest influence on human society. The ideological source of Marton Aron's thinking is to be found in a Christian social truth inspired by Pope Pius XI's encyclical Quadragesimo Anno. So Peter referred to this encyclical, and in a form of Catholicism grounded in the ideal of serving the people. By Catholicism, he meant not only a religion, but also a clearly defined worldview, the respect for human rights, the fraternal responsibility toward one's field of human rights, and the maintenance of international balance. He contrasted this with the mass movements that violated human dignity, with National Socialism, which proclaimed blood as the supreme value, and with communism, which exalted matter as the primary organizing principle. He considered the ideas of communism incompatible with Catholic principles because it is an implacable enemy of the Christianity. It seeks to kill God, and if it were to come into conflict with him, it would do so. He also distanced himself from the ideologies of National Socialism and fascism. He emphasized that there is no such a thing as a racially pure nation, nor a nation born to rule or to serve. He believed that the struggle between the two doctrines that both claim to champion the rights of the community, communism and National Socialism, would determine the future of Europe. He concluded that if the nations of Europe wished to avoid the strengthening of either nationalism or internationalism, they had to follow the teachings of Christianity. The new world and the new human being had to be nourished by Christian ideas, for only in his way could war be prevented. So in this slide you can see the vice-consul of Poland, Tadeusz Stapinski, in 1936, a Polish representative Agencia Konsularna was established in Kolozsvár, in Cluj, and he was the leader of this consulate since the beginning of 1936, and he made a very, very close friendship with Marton Aron. And this is the report of Tadeusz Stapinski. I found it in Archium Novich in Warsaw, and it's a very interesting document because it presents that how Marton Aron, what was his point of view on the king dictatorship in Romania. This dictatorship was began in 1938. All the political parties were forbidden in Romania, and it was allowed just to create one political party. And it was also an experiment to create some cooperative systems. And Marton Aron tells Tadeusz Stapinski that he refused the priest and all the members of the Catholic Church to step into the cooperative system of the Karola II. And this is also a document of Marton Aron. Stapinski nominated him to Polonia Restituta. This was the higher civil award in Poland at that time, and nowadays too it is one of the higher awards in Poland. Unfortunately, I couldn't find out that if Marton Aron ever got this award. I spent a couple of days to find out, but I didn't find any documents that if he was awarded finally with Polonia Restituta. So, and the second milestone, the next milestone is the Second Vienna arbitrage in 1940, which divided Transylvania into two parts. The northern part of Transylvania was attached to Hungary, and the southern part of Transylvania remained in Romania. And the Antonescu's regime from that time tried to enforce the Hungarian national minority in southern Transylvania. At around 400,000 Hungarians remained in southern Transylvania. So Antonescu's regime tried to enforce them to leave Transylvania. And therefore Marton Aron, as a bishop, was in the opposite of Antonescu's regime, and he some circulars told the priest and the members of the Catholic Church to remain in southern Transylvania, not to leave this region. And after the Second World War, Marton Aron was imprisoned in 1948. He left the prison in 1985, and from 1987 10 years he was in home arrest in Gyulafehérvár. He couldn't leave the Episcopal Palace, and so much amount of wiretapping manuscripts was created in this time. And the big question is for me on Marton Aron's life that did Marton Aron true or not? So he was in opposition of every dictatorship. He was in opposition of every political system at that time. He conflicted with the king dictatorship. He conflicted with Antonescu regime, and he conflicted with the communist regime. And he had lots of opponents and lots of criticized criticians within the episcopate. And they criticized Marton Aron because he was not flexible enough towards the state authorities. And the question is that did Marton Aron true or not? And I think that I'm sure that the history is totally different from the policy of remembrance, but you can see in this slide dozens of his statues. So after the transformation of political system in Romania, dozens of statues, dozens of monuments were established for Marton Aron. Dozens of his works were published in Hungarian and in Romanian language, and to the anniversaries of his born date and death, believers organizing prayings around the Transylvanian Catholic diocese. And this cult of Marton Aron was not began after the collapse of the communist regime, but it was began after his death. So this is the judgment of the posterity, and I think that Marton Aron was right on that occasion, that his policy could preserve the integrity of the Hungarian national community, the Hungarian Catholics in Transylvania. So thank you for the attention.